For joining the Baltimore Senate delegation. I should probably cut my camera on here. Sorry. Usually I'm just a participant and not chairing this here meeting. So there we go. Oh, nope, 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 nope. It's coming. At one point it's coming. All right, cool. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Baltimore City Senate delegation. We have joining us here this morning myself, Senator Antonio Hayes from the 40th District, Senator McCray from the 45th, and Senator Tarr from the 41st District. Others will be joining us momentarily. We're going to get started this morning with a bill hearing on Senate Bill 756, Baltimore City Economic Development Project in Downtown Rise District, payment in lieu of taxes, sponsored by Senator McCray. I'm going to turn it over to Nina Thimlis, who represents the Mayor's Office of Government Relations, and then she could start with our various witnesses. I have presenting to us this morning Otis Rowley from Baltimore Development Corporation, Shalonda Stokes, Zach Blanchard, Bruce Jarrell, Jennifer I don't know how to put Jennifer from the aquarium. So Nina, did you want to start and pass it over to your folks?
Sure. We should have President Rowley in the waiting room, he says. But I
No,
will
he's
get.
here.
I'm in
He's
now.
here.
Oh, there we
He's
are.
here.
Okay, yeah. So I am just going to turn it right over to President Rowley, and then he will testify and turn it over to some of our other panelists. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for the opportunity to have this, I think, very important conversation about some of what we are attempting to do. Senate Bill 756 would establish a set of parameters through which property owners could apply to enter into payment in lieu of taxes agreements with the city of Baltimore. The boundaries for the eligible properties are set to exist within the Downtown Rise catchment area, which was outlined in last year's Downtown Rise Master Plan. That master plan has been fully adopted by the Planning Commission and is really a guiding document for the mayor's overall over $6 billion kind of Downtown Rise plan. Mayor Scott in 2024 tasked his administration to create the plan to drive investment and growth, create jobs, support business owners, entrepreneurs, and promote vibrancy and increase safety in the downtown area. The plan was developed in partnership with the Downtown Partnership, Governor Moore and his administration, and numerous community members and stakeholders. Senate Bill 756 is the first piece of legislation produced as a result of the master plan and will help to infuse the downtown area with investments at a critical and pivotal moment. The Baltimore Development Corporation has produced an analysis that supports the use of pilot agreements in the downtown area as mutually beneficial way to draw investment into the area without reducing overall revenue to the city. That part is crucial for you to be crystal clear on. This will not hurt the city's revenue, but in fact enhance it by drawing in more overall investments. For each dollar of property taxes that Baltimore forgoes through the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, the city stands to receive more than $1 in return for these improved properties through income taxes, sale taxes, hotel occupancy tax, and other revenue streams. Pilot agreements have proven successful in cities across the country. I've had the benefit of working in over 100 cities around the country, and just the what we see it's the opportunity to bring some of those best practices, lessons learned, both from successes and failures, back to the great city of Baltimore. For this reason, I'm obviously seeking your support for this legislation. We just think at the end of the day, some of the existing pilot agreement processes take too long. This resolves some of that. What a process that took 9 to 18 months now would take anywhere from 3 to 9 months, kind of worst case scenario. And we will be able to provide much more transparency and just making it very clear from the developers community in terms of what we are doing and how we're getting those things done. So for those reasons, I'm asking for your support for this important bill.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Are we to hear from Shalonda Stokes, Downtown
Yes.
Partnership of Baltimore?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the delegation. As you know, my name is Shalonda Stokes. I serve as the president and CEO of Downtown Partnership of Baltimore. I actually stepped into this role during one of the most disruptive periods in modern downtown history, the COVID pandemic. It didn't just simply slow activity. It really fundamentally changed how and where people work. Remote and hybrid work significantly reduced daily office presence, foot traffic, and private investment, especially within the central business districts across the country, obviously including Baltimore. And so the Downtown Rise District that President Raleigh described represents the historic commercial core of our city. Most of those buildings in this area, older stock, and large-scale redevelopment is complex and capital intensive, as we know. At the same time, the market conditions have made traditional office projects financially infeasible without intervention. The impact on us is definitely measurable. So Downtown Partnerships operations are fully funded by a surcharge on the commercial property assessments within our district. We receive approximately 23 cents per $100 of assessed tax value. And since I've been in this role, declining assessments have resulted in nearly $3.5 million of lost revenue to our organization. So that loss reflects a broader contraction in the property values across downtown, but at the same time, the demand for services have increased. Clean and safe operations, public space maintenance, and management activation, business support are more critical now than ever, especially in this challenged environment. We have property owners and investors who are ready and positioned for building, for residential conversions, for mixed use, for hospitality, and all other types of initiatives. But today the math is not mathing. And without a structured incentive that helps close that financial gap, the risk is high. Senate Bill 756 provides that tool. It authorizes the payment in lieu of taxes for qualifying economic development projects within this Downtown Rise district. Each project must undergo economic analysis, receive approval from the board, and be subject to annual reporting and oversight. For us, importantly, this structure is designed to stabilize existing value while creating an upside through redevelopment. And so it establishes a floor while allowing projects that would otherwise stall move and contribute over time. So a stabilized downtown, we know, is not just about one neighborhood, it's about the fiscal and economic strength of our entire city. Because when the core is strong, we know Baltimore is stronger. And so for that reason, I respectfully urge your favorable support of Senate Bill 756. And I want to personally thank Senator Corey McCray for his leadership in advancing this legislation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Next, we will hear from, I believe, Councilman Blanchard.
Thank you so much, Senator. So Shalonda pointed out that Downtown Partnership is getting $3 million less a year in their assessments. What that means, because the property tax rate is 10 times the surtax, that the city is getting is losing more than $30 million a year compared to where we were 6 years ago. And to be clear, that's bad. It's going to get worse because the commercial reassessments happen when the tenant leaves. And a lot of these bigger tenants, right, they're very long-term contracts, right? So we are not at the bottom yet of where this is going to be if we don't do something substantial. I also want to just talk politics briefly. Sometimes there's a tendency, I think, to say downtown to include other places on the waterfront. Downtown is not Harbor East. Downtown is not Harbor Point. Downtown is not Baltimore Peninsula. Downtown is exactly where everyone on this call thinks downtown is. And although the Banner article was pretty good the other day. So it is the transit hub of the city. It's the historic core of the city. It is everyone getting everywhere in the city, right? It's right next to the harbor, right? Like it is very relevant. I like saying, and I believe this, that downtown is the second most important neighborhood for every resident of the city. And if we don't feel that way, it's kind of a testament to the challenges that downtown is currently facing. So we need to do we need substantial effort to encourage confidence and investment in downtown. And I think both of the bills that are being looked at are really moving in the right direction there. So I really appreciate everyone's consideration, and I really appreciate Senator McCrae's sponsoring the bill. Thank you.
Excellent. Next, we will hear from President Bruce Gerald.
Good morning, all, and thank you for hearing from me. I'm Bruce Gerald from the University of Maryland, Baltimore. I speak in support of Senate Bill 756, establishing the pilot mechanism for economic development in Baltimore City's downtown RISE district. As Maryland's public academic health university and a major anchor institution in downtown and West Baltimore, we strongly support this legislation and the broader strategy to advance and stabilize the city's core. UMB is an anchor institution of over 8,000 individuals and 7,000 students we educate. We have a direct stake in the health of the downtown economy, and a vibrant, stable, growing downtown will be essential to our mission to attract the best workforce, the best students, and the best residents into our university. This legislation is especially timely given UMB's recently announced vibrancy initiative. This is a university-driven private development strategy aimed at reactivating vacant parcels on our campus, expanding ground floor commercial activities, including restaurants, supporting small businesses, connecting downtown with West Baltimore, and finally adding to the Baltimore tax base. Many of these projects will directly benefit from a healthier, more competitive real estate environment in the RISE district. By stabilizing these communities, we believe that this will definitely improve the feasibility for other UMB-aligned development near our university, attract complementary investment, and enhance vibrancy and safety of areas where our students and employee members walk, work, and interact daily. Think of the number of people walking across our campus during a baseball game. In short, SB 756 offers Baltimore and the areas around UMB the tools required to respond to this rapidly changing market. And as an anchor institution, we are deeply committed to the success of Baltimore as well as the state. And thank you very much for your consideration of this bill. UMB respectfully urges a favorable report on SB 756. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerald. And last but certainly not least is awesome Director of National Aquarium, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. It's so wonderful to see you all. Thank you for the time this morning. I'm Jennifer Driven. I'm the interim president and CEO of the National Aquarium and a proud Baltimore City resident. The National Aquarium, a lot of people don't realize the National Aquarium is the top paid attraction in the state. We consistently are welcoming 1.2 million guests every single year. And downtown Baltimore and its assets need reinvestment in order to sustain that impact. So I'm here to support this legislation. With 2/3 of our visitors to the aquarium coming from outside of the state of Maryland, and 90% of our guests say that the aquarium was their primary reason for being in downtown Baltimore, we are still the economic anchor that was created 45 years ago. In fact, annually we generate $430 million in economic activity, including $90 million in food and beverage sales and $40 million in hotel spending. Aquarium guests expect when they leave the aquarium that they're going to have dining options and retail and family-friendly amenities, both before and after their visit, and yet current options are really limited downtown. In recent years, business closures and property vacancies have made it increasingly difficult to attract and retain visitors in downtown. And revitalizing downtown is going to help extend those visitor stays, which increases the spending and the impact overall on Baltimore's economy. So investing in mixed use, retail, residential development is going to create the vibrant, amenity-rich environment that attracts visitors and encourages them to stay longer. This legislation provides a targeted, predictable incentive structure essential to catalyze that downtown redevelopment. You've heard from so many others, and finally, it deserves reiterating. Downtown Baltimore needs innovative solutions to reverse the disinvestment and to restore the economic momentum that we all know it can have. This bill is not going to solve all of the needs, but it represents a meaningful and necessary step toward writing the new chapter for downtown. It adds a modern tool to Baltimore's toolbox to attract and retain businesses. And we urged the delegation to issue a favorable report on Senate Bill 756. Thank you so much for allowing me to join this morning and offer our support.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize that we've been joined by the senator from the 46th Legislative District, Senator Bill Ferguson. Thank you all for your testimony this morning. I wonder, are there any questions from members about Senate Bill 756? I would say I most recently read an article about the Renaissance Harbor Hotel, and the stories like that and the foreclosure that's happening there gives me great concern, and I think helps elevate kind of the importance of why this legislation is probably in front of us. It would not be good for us, as I think the councilman also articulated, to continue to see that type of decline and that type of loss in our downtown core. So thank you all for bringing this legislation before me and having an opportunity to be briefed even, prior to today's meeting. Are there any other questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I think that would be it. Thank you all so very much. This ends the bill hearing on Senate Bill 756. Next, we're going to go to Senate Bill 877. Well, I'm going to skip that one real quick. And I'm going to go down to Senate Bill 538. I'm sorry. So Senate Bill 538, Baltimore City Raffles, organizations affiliated with professional baseball and football teams. And it goes without saying, I think some of the people have already dropped off, but if you were here for the first bill on Senate Bill 756, you're welcome to stay, but your attendance is not required. If you want to go on and enjoy the rest of your day, feel free to do so. We will not be taking a vote on these bills today, but you all have done your task. So next, we're going to go to Senate Bill 538, Baltimore City Raffles, organizations affiliated with professional baseball and football teams, sponsored by Senator McCray. Witnesses, I have Gabe Terry, Nick Manis, and Lisa Harris Jones. Senator McCray, did you want to say anything in reference to this bill, or would you like for me to go with your witnesses?
I'll be really quick. This isn't a bill that's new to the delegation. It was heard last year. There was a sunset. I think it was a 1-year sunset on it. So we're rehearing it. The only thing that's new is that it adds the Ravens, and I'll go to those that would like to provide testimony and just be brief from my colleagues' respect for their time.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Senator McCray. Gabe Terry, did you want to start?
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Gabe Atari. We have you listed here as Gabe Terry. All right. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Gabe.
Just want to say, me too. Thank you so much to Senator McCray.
Excellent.
Here on behalf of the Orioles in support of SB 538.
Great. All right. Next, we have Nick Mantis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the delegation. I'd like to thank Senator McCray for introducing this bill. Briefly, what it does is just add the Baltimore Ravens the ability to conduct 50-50 raffles. We have 10 games a year. Hopefully we have more home games than that if we make the playoffs. So I'm here to answer any specific questions, but this will continue to allow us to invest back in the city, and we appreciate the support.
Excellent. Thank you for your quick and concise testimony. Lisa Harris Jones.
I have nothing more to share. I'm just looking for a favorable report. I'll lend my time to Brandon with the Ravens if he wants to share something.
I don't know if Brandon was signed up, but if he's here and have more information to add, we're happy to hear from him this morning.
I am. Thank you, Senator. We're just grateful for the delegation's consideration on this bill. We really do believe that it will help us continue to really impact lives here in Baltimore City, and in furtherance of the Ravens Foundation's mission to improve, encourage, enable healthy development of Baltimore City's youth.
Gotcha. Thank you. Are there anyone else that has interest in this bill?
Just question, Mr. Chair. This bill has already been heard in committee. And it has been something that we've already previously voted on outside of the Ravens component. And I don't think that that's contentious or controversy. If we can vote this one this week, because it is sitting in my committee.
You mean today?
Yeah, today is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. One of the things that I noticed, Senator McCray, is it has no sunset, which, you know, I think even as it left the city delegation last year, it had, you know, the House had a shorter timeline to sunset it. But I know it was, you know, we and the Senate delegation wanted to see some type of sunset where we would come back and check the progress on this. And so
what's your appetite? Like how many years?
I think we said like 3 years. But you know, I think you know, I don't feel one
If
way.
that's what moves the
Maybe
needle
like
forward,
5
and that's
years.
the appetite of the body, we got no problem with that. 5 years is good.
Got you. All right. And then this one, like the one at the Oreos, have some type of fencing around the immediate area of the stadium. I'm trying to read through and catch up at the same time.
Yep. If I could, yes, it does, Senator.
Yeah. And what is that language that has that fencing?
It's in the bill. It's on page 6.
6. I'm there. Okay, with respect to raffle, with respect to raffle, with respect to raffle. Got it. Okay. And I would assume, and I'm just okay. Raffle deception of West Canton, blah 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 blah. And so it's the same for the Oreos and
It's a little different because we have a broader parking lot area, so we have more parking. So that's the difference in the 2 geofence areas.
Cool. All right. Excellent. Yep. Are there any other questions from the delegation on this one? Other than the amendment to provide a sunset for 5 years, are there any other concerns? I think we covered everything. Those were just some of the like little issues that came up last year, and so just make sure it's in there. All right, and so Elijah, if we would reserve this for the end of the agenda to take a vote up on it, please. Thank you. All right, is there anything else on this bill? All right, that's Senate Bill 538. Next bill is Senate Bill 877. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate you switching it up a little bit for me. So, Mr. Chair, colleagues, as you may recall from last session, we had a bill before us that would allow it. In the end, we did it for 2 districts. It was Senate President's District and Senator McCray's district. It would allow for stop sign monitoring system. And Mr. Chair, as you may recall, you and I had excluded our districts from this pilot program. Correct. There was a bill a couple of years ago that first created this pilot program, and it was just for Prince George's County, and the legislation last year included the 2 districts in Baltimore City. One community in my district, the Mount Washington Improvement Association, the Mount Washington community, I've been in discussions with them for a while, and there are some concerning intersections and by schools that they've been having a lot of car accidents. We actually have crash data that I believe was sent with their testimony. So we would like to include that community within this pilot program to see if it is something that will help and bring down these accidents that are taking place. So that is all this bill would do. It would include the Mount Washington Improvement Association, the Mount Washington community into this program. There's a letter of support from the association saying this is what the community wants. And this also just authorizes the city to go ahead and do it. And that's really all this bill is doing. It doesn't change where the money would go. It keeps everything the same, just includes Mount Washington in this pilot program. And with that, I ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tar, for keeping it so straight, direct, and quick. Are there any questions, Senator McCray?
No question, just comment. You know, I know how contentious this type of stuff was in previous years, and I'm just glad that colleagues are moving in the direction and the insight of, the good senator from the 45th.
I don't know about contentious, sir. But
Mr.
go
Chair, we're
ahead,
taking it
Senator.
slow. Now it's a community, not a whole district.
That's right. That's right. Smart move. Senator Tar is very thoughtful. I got it. That was really a shot at me, Senator
Oh,
Tar,
yeah.
from the good senator from the
I recall
45th.
from last year.
Indeed. Are there any additional questions as it relates to Senate Bill 877? Seeing none, now we the other bill that I just wanted to and we don't have to have a lengthy discussion on this, but it was a bill that we heard last week. And I know there was some concern. It's been brought to I'm talking about Senate Bill 524. I don't think that we're in a position to vote on that today, but I do want to have a slight discussion and discuss whatever concerns that may still be out there or whatever. This is probably something that we'll take up next week. I know it's pending in the committee.
Mr. Chair, I actually got amendments for this that I know Ms. Cannon has been working through that I believe alleviate some of the pressures that folks have. If we can have Ms. Cannon step in and just walk through some, it got to my thing around parental consent. It also got some of the DJS stuff in there, but I do think that it'll get to the posture where folks may feel comfortable with it after this. If we can pull it up.
Fantastic. No, we appreciate that. And that's why we just wanted to discuss it today and probably not have a vote on it. When has it had a bill hearing? Does anyone know that? Nina or Ms. Cannon committee?
Mr. Chair, it's Dewana Starrett from.
I'm sorry. No, Dewana, you're out of order.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
if you want to
wanted
send me a chat, or if you want to
gotcha.
send me a chat or text me, that would be great. Can committee staff let us know if the bill has already been heard?
It has been heard. It was heard on the 19th of February.
Ms. Cannon, would it be okay if you just screen share and walk through some of the amendments? I know you got the what is the version that I like? Not the amendments, but the
reader version.
Yeah.
If someone can give me screen sharing access, I'd be happy
Elijah,
to.
is that you that got screen sharing access?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
All right.
Katie Lee, did you request access?
Here we go.
Oh, great. Excellent.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You probably want to enlarge it just a little bit.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect.
So this amendment is adding to this bill. It's going to require that the various mayor's offices, prior to the access to and confidential use of those records, to enter into memorandums of understanding and obtain written consent from parents from the various agencies and DJS that are releasing these records. So we scroll down. And that's for those police records that are a part of subsection A, I believe. Or it might be B.
I'm sorry. Can you go back? What did you say the First Amendment was?
So it's requiring that the agencies that are sharing these records, the police records and DJS, are going to enter into an memorandum of understanding, as well as obtain express written consent from the parents or guardians of the children whose records are being released.
And I'm sorry, you said the agencies that are part of it, which in the original bill is introduced, it had 3 different agencies. Does that remain inclusive of all 3 agencies?
So it's going to be the agencies releasing them to the Baltimore City Mayor's offices. It's the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, the Office of Children and Family Success, and the Office of African American Male Engagement.
And Ms. Cannon, I'll step in here. So, colleagues, I'm gonna separate the ones that I asked for, and then the ones and the reasoning behind it.
That's what I was going to ask. And then
Yep.
Senator McCray, in your explanation, if you could help us to understand like which ones are DJS versus yours, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So DJS only got one out. So mine's was that I think that the folks that are requesting it should be specified. So I think DJS wanted it where it was Monty and they would be able to give permission. I think that anybody that wants this should have to come to the legislature. So the 3 agencies that the city requested, African American Male Engagement, Dr. Brooks's shop, and Director Mavrona's shop, Monty, are the 3 that's listed inside, they're specified inside of the bill. So this is very clear in reference to what the legislature's intent was. Parental consent has to happen on the front end. So it doesn't happen on the middle. It doesn't happen on the back. The parent has to sign off that they want this information shared with these specific agencies, and not done where it's a document of 9. It's an express document where that's the single sheet. And that parent is very clear in reference to what they're specifically doing. There's a sunset in there, Ms. Cannon. What did we say the sunset was? 3 or 5 years?
We decided, or you decided, it was going to be 5 years.
So there's a sunset 5 years so that we can continuously kind of keep reviewing this, and that they know that this wasn't something that we wanted in perpetuity. DJS's amendment was that they wanted it, the MOU specified inside of it, and the conditions of the MOU was what DJS had requested. And we just tacked it on in there. The only thing that I didn't accept with DJS, like I said, was they wanted to say Monty and then other agencies that they work through the MOU with. Like I said, I just think that that should have to come to the legislature every time. And that's the amendment.
Okay. And so Muncie, which is simply a name change from the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, we discussed, has always had access to it. You would maintain the new additions of 2 new agencies who's never had access to it, being the Mayor's Office of African American Engagement, as well as the Mayor's Office of Education. I forget the name of it, but your proposal is to maintain all 3 agencies that the bill was introduced as.
The intent and how it was put forward was with those 3 in there. Like I said, DJS wanted folks that may come after and that they have that discretion. And I said that should come at the legislature. My intent was, I think that the folks that are working with them are working in the right posture and the right intent. But also I know that there may be groups that may say, hey, you gave this group permission, why wouldn't you give us permission to access these same level of records? And that should be discussed at the legislative level, but also we should be clear in reference to what our intent is as we sit in 2026. I never voted on legislation for Monty to be able to have access, and I have no problem, but I do think that we should have some level of record, some level of understanding, like what were we doing in 2026 if this is ever debated in 2033, 2030, things of that nature.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. None of us have ever voted on anything to have Muncie added because Muncie is a new name. The prior office was the
I never
Mayor's
voted for the
Office.
prior office either.
Right, got you. Okay. And so, but you are proposing that we invite the 2 new agencies in this legislation, and then anyone that come after them would the legislature would have to play a
figure
role.
that out. Whoever's sitting in those seats will have to figure that out.
Okay. And then um the parental consent, that would have to be provided on a case by case basis. So as a young person came present, parent would have to weigh in on whether or not there's access to that file.
Yep. So the parent can already give that information over, and all that's doing is some level of accuracy and things of that nature. So this pretty much is like, hey, if the parent's already given access, like they have that right to be able to do so from that standpoint. So that also gives us, I don't want to say cover, but it also kind of makes it a little bit more clear that that parent wants to share this information with whoever's helping their respective young child, was my intent.
Yeah. And in a case where you have a parent that may not be cooperative or in right sound mind or whatever, is there any other off ramp to have these agencies be able to provide resources to a young person?
I think that they would do what they still doing, but I think Director Mavronis and Ms. Cannon, can you be clear? Did we say parent or guardian? Like whoever has
It's
respective.
parent or guardian.
Mhm. And so is there any alternative to that? I know there's often, especially with young people who may be involved with the criminal justice system, and even more so in the cases where there's an older kid, the parent may not be as cooperative or may not have as much of a traditional parental role in that kid's life. But their absence, their sign off, it will prevent the young person from getting the type of services. Is there any other alternative or adjudication that would happen to get the kid the type of services they need or have access to this information?
I think that's a slippery slope, to be honest with you, because we're talking about juvenile records.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just trying to figure out if there's an on ramp in this bill. Look, it's a policy issue on whether or not we want to do it. I'm just not. I'm asking. So I'm assuming the answer is no. There's no other alternative route. You have to have the parental guardian to sign off. Is that what the bill is saying?
That's what my amendment does. So like even if the
Gotcha.
bill was doing that, the amendment kind of takes that away and basically say the parent has to be engaged and the parent has to sign off.
Yep. There's someone with their hand raised that is an
It's a couple hands.
iPhone, and I don't know who iPhone is, but it's only, two other senators in here that I see. So I'm gonna go to Senator Ferguson. Oh, that's Yolanda. I'll come back around to you.
Okay.
Yolanda representing the state's attorney's office. I'm gonna go with the senators first. Senator Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, well, first off, for the amendment, I like the Senator McCrae's amendment. I think it covers a lot of the issues. Sensitive to Senator Hayes' point about if there is a non-participating parent or guardian, that we wouldn't want to limit the potential access to services. I'm wondering if maybe the city or if someone could speak to this issue of access to the records. Yeah, that whether it's a law enforcement agency, this is something I know the state's attorney's office has come up, but I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, and want to see if there's someone that could speak to that issue.
Sorry, good morning. So we'll have Director Mavronis speak to the process that had been utilized in the past, as well as the question concerning parental consent.
Thanks. Thanks, Dina. But good morning, everyone. Just first want to start off by saying thank you for the robust discussion last week. I think through the amendments, and just to be clear, the administration does support the amendments that were put forth by the Department of Juvenile Services. We've been in close communication and coordination with them. What's been added into the bill on the MOU piece already reflects the process that we've been working on together. We're in the midst of enacting a memorandum of understanding across our offices for this youth-related work. Parental consent is something that's a part of that process. So also on the senator's amendments that were just shared, no objection to that or the sunset there. Want to be clear, just to the point I think you made, Senate President, about the law enforcement agency. Yes, MONSE is a non-law enforcement public safety agency. One thing that I want to be very clear about is that this is a carve out that existed, at least for the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, formerly MOCJ, in the as a carve out in this statute for nearly a decade. And so this is really about reinstating that carve out that has been there, and making sure that we can continue to have a legal means to access these records, if and only if we are working with that specific young person. So every record is requested on a case-by-case basis. Every record has to come as a part of that package with a referral from a young person. But just to take a step back, I know Nina asked me to speak to the process. In the case of MONSE, for the type of work that we'll be doing, typically we're talking about those first-time offenders that DJS may be engaging with. We're not talking about the young people who are accused of murder or something like that. We're talking about first-time offenders, lower level offenses who DJS may not have another means to hold on to, but who they don't just want to send home without making that connection to services. In those cases, DJS will be sitting down with that young person and their parent or guardian to conduct their intake conference. As a part of that process, DJS will determine if that young person is eligible and appropriate to be referred to my agency. In the cases where they are, that's where the parental consent will happen. And upon MONSE receiving that referral, we also on our side have to conduct an intake process with that young person and guardian to get their official consent to enter into our program, understand the terms of it, and also understand the terms of non-compliance with the individualized success plan that we develop together and lay out. And so just to be clear that full intake process is happening already with the parent and that child on the front end. They are fully aware of that referral to an agency like MONSE. And then even when coming to MONSE and understanding what that program is, there's another layer of intake and review that's happening with that parent and guardian. So we, of course, want to make sure we can provide these services to as many young people as possible, and really appreciate the discussion. I know we need explicit parental consent when we're referring to services that we provide to juveniles. So I don't know if there's a way around that, at least in the case of our agency. But we're comfortable right now with the amendments that have been proposed and captured in what the senator just shared. And Nina, I don't know if there's anything else you think I didn't mention about the process that would be helpful here.
Mr. Chair, if I could just thank you very much. That was very helpful. On when the data or the file is provided to MONSE and MONSE has outside partners, are the outside partners provided access to the information from the agency? Or is it just public employees that have access?
So no outside folks are able to access those records. The records are only being furnished and made available to MONSE via this proposal for the purpose of developing that individualized service plan and for the purpose of having all the information and contextual information needed to develop that plan. So in our case, that information is protected. Only the staff members who work on our youth opportunity portfolio, I think it's 2 people, those 2 folks plus myself as agency leadership would have access to these records, but they're kept in an access protected, secure database. And so if you don't have the login to be that individual who has access to these records, you cannot see them. We also cannot disclose them. The bill does include the language, as it does consistently throughout for the other agencies where there's a carve out that any unauthorized disclosure of these records beyond that stated purpose, we shall be held liable for that. And so, no, these cannot be presented to any third parties. They'll allow us to know better which third party would be most effective to connect that young person with and be a part of that treatment and service plan. But there will be no need for that third party to have access to these records that we're speaking about here.
That's the last question, Mr. Chair. Just I was going through the testimony. The Office of the State's Attorney has a section here asking that there be given permission to share records with the office when seeking guidance as to the crimes committed, victim of said crime, and if the juvenile is being diverted has successfully completed the programming. Is there a position from the mayor's office on that?
my understanding, and I don't want to interpret incorrectly what the state's attorney's office is saying there. My understanding is that the statute already permits the state's attorney's office, and I just was reading it last night again. Believe the statute already permits the state's attorney's office to access the same records for the purpose of their work and prosecutorial function. I know because I talked about the process with DJS, there's already existing protocol and communication protocol that exists between the Department of Juvenile Services and the state's attorney's office. You know, I think right now there is no active youth diversion program. It's actually what we're working with DJS to stand up and figure out where we can best fill the gaps and provide a service for our young people and families. So that work is ongoing right now. But I don't know if that answers your question, Senate President, regarding the state's attorney's piece, or if I fully understand what the suggestion was from that office.
I guess it sounded like you do not believe that it is necessary.
I think that, so I don't believe it's necessary. I do believe the original or this statute as it stands already includes the exception for the state's attorney's office for their function, and that there shouldn't be anything additional needed within the context of this provision that we're proposing to share information with the state's attorney. Yes, it should already be captured in that information sharing between DJS and the state's attorney's office. And of course, for us, right, when we activate this program, if there's a young person who does not comply with what we lay out, if they don't finish their work, they will have to be referred back to DJS for further action, and whatever that looks like based on their charge, based on the circumstances of that case. And so, just would offer that there's going to be continuous communication across the way. I know we previously approached the Office of the State's Attorney about being part of that MOU. We weren't able to advance that. And so, from my perspective, still very much open to making sure we have strong communication there as we move forward in this process.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I do see that we have a couple of people from the state's attorney's office. I'll say typically it is our practice to hear from the senators, and then we may open it up to others who have joined us, unless there's a direct question from a senator of a specific agency that's not speaking. We typically don't go there, but I see you, Hassan. We'll try to get to you in a minute, but I do want to get my senators whatever answers that they may have. Senator Tar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually can we go to Hassan first, only because I think
Absolutely.
you answer my questions. Thank you, and then we'll come back to me. Thanks.
Hassan Giordano.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Chairman. Thank you for the thoughtful and inclusive amendments, Senator McCray. Look, our position always has been to lean on the side of the amendments offered up by the Department of Juvenile Services. But as the Senate President had alluded to, what we put in there was we have always argued that as the State Attorney's Office and law enforcement, we are already included in the language that was already under the statute. However, we ran into an issue with a prior juvenile program operated with Monzi, that we asked for those records and were told that because of this statute that we were not allowed to have access to this record. So that's why we put it in our testimony, to ensure that the state's attorney's office would have access to any juvenile diversionary program that's being operated through this particular statute. That was it.
Senator Tar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that was what I thought. My understanding was that. So I would ask that if the mayor's office is saying, well, the law is not clear, that we make it clear that the state's attorney's office gets access to these records, and it's not a question. I do believe that they should have gotten them, and they still, just from the way it's written, but clearly there's a misunderstanding here, and I think we should just clarify it so we no longer have that misunderstanding moving forward.
So, Senator Tar, will you work with...
I got my hand up, Mr. Chair.
I understand, but right now, Senator Tar has the floor. Will you work with committee counsel to have an amendment drafted for us to consider? We're not going to vote on the bill today. We're going to review the amendments or whatever, but if you would work with committee counsel to try to get something drafted for us to consider at a previous meeting. You also, I know Stephanie Moranis from the mayor's office had her hand raised. I'm not sure if you were done or you want to go to Senator McCray wants to
I
jump in. I
did.
think something to add
Can
to
I
the
respond to that
No,
point
no,
either
you
now or
can't.
later? Okay.
Please don't.
No
Let's
worries.
hear from the
Okay.
senators first. If Senator Tar would like to hear
I'm
from,
done. I'm done. Thank you. We can go to Senator McCray. Thank you. And I'll work on the amendment.
indeed, Senator McCray.
Thank you, Senator Hayes. I do think that when accusation is made, that there's some level of specificity. So like being able to understand what program and having the mayor's office be able to respond when something is made and it's not spoken in specificity is very important, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. I agree. Did you have any additional questions?
No, I'd like to hear from Ms. Mavronis.
Okay. I'm glad you pronounced her name because I can never get it right. Stephanie.
Mavronis.
Mavronius.
It is unique. So I did just pull up the bill and I wanted or the statute as it's currently stated. There is number 2 on here. The subsection does not prohibit access to and use of the court record of the child described by personnel of the court, the state's attorney, counsel for the child, court-appointed advocate, or personnel of DJS. This is in the statute for confidentiality of juvenile records already. I believe what Mr. Giordano is speaking about is the prior sidestep pilot that operated in the Western District starting back in 2022 and ended sometime in 2024. Those records were requested from the city. It was requested that Monty provide the names of all of the juveniles that we served. We've also received other cases to release things like all of our case notes in addition to the names of all of those juveniles served. This statute is exceedingly clear. We are being provided those records for the purpose only of creating that individualized service plan and working with that young person to treat them. This statute explicitly prohibits the mayor's office from sharing that with any third party. This does not prohibit the DJS from sharing with the state's attorney's office, presumably the same records that they're able to share with the mayor's office, but it is very explicit in preventing the disclosure of these records from anyone external, be it a third party nonprofit or another office. And so I just want to be very clear about what I think that comment was referring to and the legal reasons why that could not be disclosed in that fashion at that time. But I do believe the statute speaks to the access that office has to this information as a state's attorney's office.
No,
So just to be clear,
Senator McCray still has the floor. Go ahead, Senator McCray.
So just to be clear, are you saying that in that sidestep program during the years of 2022 to 2024, that case by case, and they were asked for all in the program? Like what was the discrepancy in reference to what they're trying to say?
I know the request I received sometime in 2025 was to share all of the names of the youth who had and their information that had been referred to Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement between those years. When we're talking about the sidestep program, we're talking about offenses like shoplifting. We're talking about other lower level category 2 offenses. And so just want to be clear, many of these cases are not cases for which the state's attorney's office would be pursuing charges. But we're always going to be interested in coordinating and participating with any of our public safety agencies in the work of supporting our young people. We just have to make sure we're doing that in a way that is legal. And so, that's what I would say to that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I would just recommend Senator Tar, Senator McCray, if you guys have additional amendments or seek clarity, if you guys could get them to us over the weekend or whatever. I think just if we could have some time to review and make a decision at the end of the day, we want to hear from you all as members of the delegation on which direction that we should go in. And so hopefully we could deliberate that on next week. And so
Mr. Chair, I appreciate that. I did not know. So like the state's attorney wasn't clear what I was told was that if the DJS amendment was what they were concerned about, and that put it in a posture. So now that this new issue has emerged, I'll work through that. But the intent was that everything that could be a concern with that bill was laid out in that specific amendment. I don't mind doing some type of intent language so that it's very clear in reference to what should be shared, and I'll do that offline and get both parties.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Senator Ferguson, you good?
Yep, we'll take it offline. That's great.
Indeed. Are there any other questions of our panelists involved in this? Thank you all so much for a really healthy conversation. Please use Elijah to help circulate any information that you all may have. Hopefully, we could bring this up possibly on Monday after we hear from our congressman and provide some direction to the committee. We wouldn't want this delegation to be a hindrance to advancing one of the mayor's top priorities. Senator McCray, you still have your hand up. Is that to be recognized, or you just forgot to bring it down? Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you all so very much. This has made us all a lot smarter as it relates to Senate Bill 524. We appreciate you sharing with us this morning.
Thank
All right.
you.
Next, we're going to go back to Senate Bill 554, which we heard last week and was voted on by this delegation. There are some interested parties that had not had a chance to weigh in, and we want to afford the opportunity for them to weigh in this morning. I'm going to start with Dewana Merritt-Starrett of the Baltimore City School Board. Dewana, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am, for the record, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the City Senate delegation. I'm Dewana Merritt-Starrett, the Executive Director of Legislative and Government Affairs for the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. I want to thank the chair for allowing me to speak this morning on Senate Bill 554. As I mentioned earlier to the chair this week, we didn't have notice of the meeting or a link to speak at last week's delegation, so I'm thankful that this body is open enough to allow me to provide additional information to the delegation about the legislation. So on behalf of the school board, I do want to address one major concern that the board would like to share with the delegation. As you all know, the school board is an uncompensated volunteer board made up of individuals with specific expertise. This bill would require the full Senate confirmation for board members that are appointed. And in researching this, there is no Maryland local school board that requires Senate confirmation. I know there have been discussions of the amount of state funding that city schools receives as a possible reason for a greater state role in the selection of members. But there are other local school boards in the state that receive large, if not larger, percentages of their school budgets from the state and are not confirmed by the state Senate. As an example, like Wacomico and Caroline and some other counties receive more than 75, 80% of their school budgets from the state, and those members are not confirmed by the state Senate. And as you know, budgeting for state education funding in Maryland is based on relative wealth. And Baltimore City, along with other counties I just mentioned, are the lowest wealth in the state. So we do receive naturally a larger share of state funding. Also, in my review of the issue to determine other entities from the city that go through state confirmation, I saw that the Baltimore City Liquor Board and the Baltimore City Board of License receive state confirmation. Again, they're appointed by the government and they're confirmed by the state Senate, but they do receive compensation for their roles on the board. And if my research is correct, the Board of License receives, I believe, around $18,000 a year. The Baltimore City Board of Liquor members receive about $28,000. And the Baltimore School Board is the only local school district in the state that does not receive any statutory compensation. Similar to the city school system, Prince George's County has 13 members, some elected and some appointed by the county executive, and they do not have to require Senate confirmation. The reality is there's difficulty in recruiting for school board members in Baltimore City. There are many capable and qualified people that live in the city that could serve, but without compensation, this becomes another challenge that we would have in recruiting individuals to be placed on the school board. It's just an additional hurdle. Additionally, there's a requirement for state if there's a requirement for state confirmation and there's a vacancy during the interim of the General Assembly, we would have a person that would serve until the General Assembly convenes in January for that person to be confirmed. And if this person is not confirmed, it can then be disrupting to the work of the school board. And then I just would like to end with that with the words that this school board should not be treated any differently than any other school system in the state. The Baltimore City delegation has fought very hard over the years to have the school system operate to be more like other school districts, and this seems as if it's a step backwards. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I hope that there could be a motion for reconsideration for this matter in light of the issues in learning the timing of the bill hearing last week and not having notice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Senator Ferguson, would you mind us allowing the other folks to testify before you chime in with any questions? Same for Senator McCray. Do you mind, or do you have a question that's burning right now? Senator McCray, you
No
have your hand
question, just yeah, no question, just more or less of a comment. The compensation thing was something that was also on my mind. I know I was working with Ms. Cannon in reference to an amendment from that standpoint. Ms. Cannon, was the compensation amendment ready or not ready yet?
I have a draft ready.
Okay. That's it, Senator Hayes.
Okay, excellent. All right. Next we have Christina Duncan Evans, Baltimore Teachers Union.
Good morning, Chair and members of the City Senate delegation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. On behalf of the Baltimore Teachers Union, I respectfully urge you to reconsider Senate Bill 554, which would eliminate the existing community panel responsible for recommending nominees for our local school board and instead vest that responsibility in the state Senate. For years, the community panel has reflected a deliberate and hard-won commitment to inclusive governance. It includes representatives of labor, students, parents, civil rights advocates, community organizations, charter school advocates, and disability rights leaders, including participation from the American Civil Liberties Union. That breadth of representation is intentional, and it's foundational to ensuring that the Board of School Commissioners reflects the diversity, lived experience, and educational expertise of the communities it serves. This bill replaces that broad-based, subject matter-informed body with the state Senate, a legislative body whose members, while deeply experienced in public policy, are not selected for nor required to possess specialized expertise in public education governance, special education compliance, civil rights enforcement, or the operational realities of our urban school system. Selecting school board commissioners requires a nuanced understanding of federal special education law, Title IX compliance, collective bargaining, student discipline reform, charter oversight, and the day-to-day challenges facing classrooms. The existing community panel was structured specifically to ensure that these perspectives are present at the table. It is particularly concerning that this legislation removes the formal involvement of civil rights and disability advocates at a time when their presence is not only appropriate, but essential. Our district has previously faced costly corrective action stemming from special education and civil rights litigation. The inclusion of disability advocates and the ACLU on the community panel was not symbolic. It reflected a recognition that oversight and accountability must include those who have historically had to litigate for students' rights. Removing these voices risks repeating past mistakes and undermines public confidence that the district will meet its legal and moral obligations to students with disabilities and students whose civil rights have too often been compromised. The elimination of labor and parent representation similarly sends a troubling message. Educators and families are not special interests, they are primary stakeholders. They are the individuals most directly affected by the decision of the Board of School Commissioners, and a governance structure that sidelines us diminishes the democratic participation and weakens the legitimacy of board appointments. We are also concerned about the process by which this legislation has advanced. Stakeholders who have participated in and relied upon the community panel process were not notified in advance that this bill would be introduced or voted upon. The absence of meaningful stakeholder engagement in crafting legislation that fundamentally alters governance undermines the very transparency and accountability principles that the Board of School Commissioners is meant to uphold. Good governance reform should model the openness that it seeks to promote. Additionally, this proposal shifts authority away from a balanced community-centered process towards a purely political one. While the Senate plays an indispensable constitutional role in our state government, concentrating appointment recommendation authority in a single legislative chamber risks politicizing a process that has benefited from diverse, nonpartisan community input. Finally, as a history teacher, I'd like to provide some historical context. When this language was added in 2017 from then delegate, now Senator Hayes as the lead sponsor, it was introduced as a city administration bill and enjoyed broad support from the delegation. At a time when the city is taking its assets back from state control, including the Baltimore Police Department, it's disappointing that the Senate wants to take us farther from local control. For these reasons, the loss of subject matter expertise, the exclusion of civil rights and disability advocates, and the devaluation of community voices and the troubling procedural path that this bill has taken, we respectfully ask that this committee reconsider Senate Bill 554. Thank you for your time and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Senator Ferguson, you had your hand up. We have one more person that was signed up to testify. Do you wish to speak now or wait till the last person speak? Okay, excellent. Denise Gilmore. Denise, are you with us? I don't see you. All right. All right. So I guess we could go. I do have a couple of questions. And then I think Senator Ferguson, you had some questions as well. Dewana, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
You stated that there's no other school board in the state that has confirmation by the Maryland Senate. Is there any other school board that has this panel process?
There are other school boards that have nominating commissions, which is similar. There's other school boards that are directly appointed by the county executive. There's other school boards that are appointed that are just purely elected. There's hybrid members. But so the closest we have is a nominating committee like in Baltimore County.
Right. But this sets us out and apart. This current structure with this panel make us outlier as it relates to our colleagues throughout the state, the other 23 jurisdictions.
I mean, I wouldn't consider it an outlier, but of having the community panel, I would just think it's a different manner in which to get public engagement, similar to the nominating commission that the Baltimore County has.
I got you. And then, so, the other statement you made that the vacancy would be disruptive, the absence of a school board member, if the Senate did not confirm an individual, would be disruptive to the school board. I'm not sure if you truly understand the Senate confirmation process. In the Maryland legislature, the Senate is the only one with a public confirmation process. Just recently, we had the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, which oversees Maryland Department, which oversees MVA, MTA, MDTA, the Maryland Aviation Administration, and Maryland State Highways. They employed thousands of employees in a multi-billion-dollar budget. That confirmation was made in an interim. The secretary came before us, and that appointment has not been made. And this is a regular course. This is not an anomaly, but this happens all the time where you have leaders of organizations where appointments are made in an interim, then they come before the legislature, and the legislature considers it as it's constitutionally bound to by the state constitution. But you believe that a volunteer, and maybe after Senator McCrae's amendment, a compensated member of the school board going through the same process will be disruptive to its proceedings?
Well, I haven't seen Senator McCrae's amendments, which I'm grateful to hear. But I think when I say this disruptive, we believe that it's at the time when the General Assembly would go into session, we're in budget season. And so there's a lot of activity going around the budget. I understand the Senate confirmation, but ideally it would be nice if we did have somebody on board as soon as a vacancy, and that they know that they're on board and can make decisions as we move through, because it would be a time when there's a lot of activity with the school board, particularly around the budget.
Got you. And I haven't seen Senator McCrae's amendment either, but I look forward to taking it under consideration. But it is your testimony today that unlike other school boards, the school board would like to be compensated in a year where the budget is in the state that it is. That's the position of the school board?
Well, the position of the school board is a few years ago, there was a study that was chaired by the mayor's office, and they did come
Mhm.
up with a recommendation to provide compensation to the school board. And that has been decided a couple of years ago. And so that's always been out there. The issue has always been funding, like where the funding will come from. And I'm very excited to hear what Senator McCray has to say.
And you guys see that as a barrier to having individuals participate on the school board?
I
And so
think that's one of the reasons that we may find difficulty getting some people to apply to be on the school board.
yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, and I'm gonna turn it over to Senator McCray, because I believe he has some questions. So in most confirmation processes, whether it's boards or commissions or heads of agencies, there's some level of transparency in public hearings that take place when considering these. I think the Senate confirmation process provides for that opportunity for a public and transparent process. What transparency or public hearing process currently exists in our current system?
And I'm sure Ms. Duncan can speak more specifically, but the community panel, those meetings are open to the public for viewing when the candidates are interviewed by the community panel.
And so how is the public notified that they're open and that
I
they're
think
posted?
they are considered a public body, and they do give notice of those public hearings.
Do you know where they're posted?
I don't know if Ms. Duncan knows, but I can find out where they're posted.
Yeah, I have some questions for Ms. Duncan as well, but I want to get to Senator McCray. Thank you so much for your testimony. Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm only asking when is the appropriate time. Nobody's seen the amendment. I worked on it a couple days ago with Legislative Council and was going to bring it up at this to this body. So just let me know when the appropriate time to discuss it is.
Yeah, no problem. I'd like to have you present it and explain to us, if you don't mind, Senator McCray, once we finish like the questioning part, if you could explain it to us, and then we could take a look at it and possibly, take it up. If you insist we take it up today, we will do that, but I will hope that we could at least wait till Monday before considering it. But I want to get through this line of questions. Did you have any questions for either the panelists while you had the floor?
No questions.
Okay, thank you so very much. Ms. Duncan, same to Mr. Rhett. Can you answer the question that I asked about like the transparency, the public hearings, how the public is notified, how does the public weigh in on the process for the current process?
Certainly, and we're definitely in alignment here. We are continually pushing for more public transparency around this process. I can say on behalf of our organization that we promote these opportunities for our members to engage in the process and watch the process. And my understanding is that the community panel is subject to the. It's not just
and I
us.
apologize for interrupting you, but you said you publicize it to your members, but you guys probably, I would imagine, publicize it outside your members as well, right?
So
Well, whose responsibility is to publicize it to the larger community?
Yeah, so my understanding is that previously, and I can't say this has been the case for every single time the community panelists met, but I'm aware of instances where the link has been available on the website of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Services. They are our connection because they run the process. And we are constantly engaging with the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Services to maintain videos that could be accessed by the public after the session and make those openly available. But as I was saying, my understanding is that this entire process of meetings is subject to the Open Meetings Act. And so agendas, minutes, video recordings, there's a process for it to be made public. And with the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Services leading that operation, they're in the best position to talk about like the public dissemination that they do. What we do is we certainly promote it to our members. I can't say for sure if we have ever posted this on like our public facing social media,
Right.
but we're certainly definitely in alignment with you that the process needs to be public and transparent. We really
Gotcha.
see the benefit in that.
Ms. Duncan, could you assist us, and we'll try to do likewise, but as a member of the panel, can you help us seek out the previous minutes as it relates to the panel so we could see what that looked like as it's prepared in accordance with the Public Open Meetings Act? Would you help us with that, please?
Sure thing. And my last name is Duncan Evans.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Duncan. It's okay.
Oh, thank you so much. No, it's not okay. If like I always said, if my mama named me Hayes, call me Hayes. If your mama named you Duncan Evans, I apologize for that, and I'll refer to you as Duncan Evans. Happy to. The other, so you had made a statement, Ms. Duncan Evans, and to the fact in your oral testimony is that you see the legislation before us is a politicization into a single chamber. And I'm not sure how, and I don't want to make any assumptions of your knowledge of the legislative process here in the state of Maryland, but is it of your awareness that the Maryland Senate is the only body that has the authority to conduct confirmation hearings?
The point that I'm making there is more about the fact that removing the community panel takes away the ability for city council representation because 2 of the seats on the community panel go to city council representation. So for instance, one of the seats is appointed by the city council president's office. The other seat, there's another seat for the education and youth committee chair and participation from that committee. I think it's a single seat to the committee. And so the concern is that, and as a government teacher, I hate to, get back into my checks and balances bag, but my concern with there just being a single chamber that's part of the process eliminates the opportunity for any kind of political process to be balanced by other elected representatives.
Right. So to your point, there are other boards and commissions by which we rely on the appointment of other legislative branches like the city council at the local level, which the Senate, then confirms or whatever. And so that wouldn't be inconsistent with the current practices of the Senate confirmation process. The other thing you spoke to local control, and this is an issue that I'm very much interested in. I think there's plenty of opportunity for even greater local control. Had time permitted, I'd have been very interested in looking at like the duplication that exists, whereas Baltimore city government has, its own procurement office. The city of Baltimore, the school system has its own procurement office. Baltimore City has its own HR. School system has its own HR. There's a legal department in the school system. There's a legal department at city government. Has BTU or any of the constituency organizations, as I've become more interested in, look at opportunities to reduce the amount of funding that's going to some of these administrative functions and streamline them to have more funding available to kids in the classroom. Is that something that you all would be interested in exploring more, as I've been very much interested in looking at it myself?
So our members struggle to get timely and accurate information from city schools across a range of offices. Our position is to seek additional funding for both student-facing supports and for administrative functions because high-stakes decisions regarding people's compensation, certification or licensure, a number of very impactful decisions and topics, people can struggle to get access to information or responsiveness. It can be frustrating for employees to encounter those difficulties. It can challenge morale. It can be an additional challenge that people are facing when we really would like to be focused on supporting our kids. We would really like to be focused on calling our families, and we would like for our administration to run seamlessly. With all due respect to all of the people, including our members who work very hard at central office, that is not always people's experience. And while I hear you that there are offices of, human capital for city schools and human resources for the broader city, same thing with duplication of procurement, same thing with duplication of a legal office. Education law, as I said, is pretty specific when it comes to special education compliance, when it comes to collective bargaining. And so currently, I'm not sure that the city's departments have the background in education law specifically, special education law specifically, to be able to carry out the functions seamlessly. In any case, we support solutions that support our members, support their access to information, and support smooth and effective administration of city schools. We know from our members that a lot of people, and we have members at central office too, who are doing the work of 3 people. And so it's hard to, we haven't seen a compelling argument for reducing administrative overhead costs. We don't see a lot of bloat. North Avenue, if you've been to central office, at one point had 1,500 people reporting to central office daily. That dipped down to as low as 500 in recent years. And so administrative.
Well, let me ask the question differently, and I apologize for cutting you off. Do you see other opportunities to further the idea around local control?
Certainly.
Okay, I'd be happy to follow up with you. The only other thing that I would say, do you think that the current panel is inclusive of all voices that may and stakeholders that may have an interest in who serves? And I believe the school board is a multi-million-dollar entity. Do you think that the current panel is inclusive of all voices that may be stakeholders that would like to engage in the appointment of members of the Baltimore City School Board?
I don't think any democratic process is fully inclusive of all voices of all stakeholders. My personal, I think, feeling is that anytime we have one student present, we're tokenizing them. And in fact, the commission, the study that Ms. Durrett referenced earlier, that was legislatively mandated study also recommended the addition of an additional student member of the school board. And so I think multiple voices helps avoid the tokenizing effect that can sometimes happen when there's a single representative. And I would say that I definitely see opportunities to include more voices in the community panel, but I don't think it's a specific shortcoming of the community panel that it's not
Well, you
inclusive
think it
enough.
should be
I
a
think
bigger
that's-
panel? Would you advocate for a bigger panel than what we already have?
I think I'd have to really talk about that. We're not, I don't think Baltimore Teachers Union is prepared to take a position on that specific question, but to your question of whether or not more voices could be added, in general, I think that's true for a lot of commissions and boards. I think a lot of commissions and boards do not adequately bring all stakeholders to the table. And I think that's definitely something that we would be willing to talk about more and try to get you a fuller, more complete answer.
Absolutely. And the last question that I have, in the proposal before us in Senate Bill 554, it provides an opportunity whereas the mayor of Baltimore and chief executive for the city of Baltimore would make the appointment absent, but it does not, is it also, do you share the understanding that it does not prohibit the mayor from soliciting the voices that you articulated may be left out, like the ACLU and the disability community? Do you understand the bill does not prohibit the mayor from seeking any guidance, advice, or anything from any of those bodies?
I think
Do you
without the
agree?
legal protection of it being in statute, I know that it would be at the discretion of the mayor or future leaders to solicit opinions. And so I think the protection of this in statute is that it ensures that certain voices have a seat at the table intentionally because of prior legal action, because primary stakeholders deserve to have a say in the conditions under which our students learn.
But you acknowledge that this bill before us does not prohibit that, right? I just wanted to make sure because your testimony sound like it was automatically locking people out. I understand the willingness to have the safeguard and have it written in statute, but this legislation doesn't prohibit that solicitation of thought, correct?
No, it doesn't prohibit it.
Okay. And do you think that the mayor is capable of finding qualified members of the school board without?
That's not for me to say. I'm not sure that that's a question. I mean, our relationship with the mayor in terms of education and his education work is, for me,
I get it,
complex.
but
And I asking
appreciate
if we think the mayor is fit for this role. I'm here to express that we think we should be a part of the process and the community members should be a part of the process. It's not for me to weigh in on the value of the mayor's work in this area.
Yeah, and my question isn't to the mayor, the current mayor, right? It's really about the office of the mayor, as the chief executive for the city of Baltimore, multi-billion-dollar corporation, has a lot of resources at his availability, his or her availability. I think, the testimony that's been presented to us today is that there has been a problem in recruitment of board members and others. I think having a full weight of the city and the chief executive to be able to solicit the talent in the Baltimore community to serve our school board and the diversity of thought is a policy issue that this body and our colleagues in the House will have to decide. And so I just invite everyone into the idea that whoever is in the position of the mayor of the city of Baltimore would have the wherewithal to solicit all diverse communities and everyone into the process to make sure that we have a school board that's representative of all of the stakeholders. Thank you so much
So
for your time.
can I respond to that question?
Not right now. And I want to go over to my colleagues, but I appreciate your contributions this morning. All right. Senator McCray, and unless there's any other questions or anybody want to hear again from our panel, I'd like to go back to Senator McCray if you're still there. If you want to present to us the amendment that you had for Senate Bill 554.
Ms. Cannon, if you could put it up, I'll explain it. But if you could share it. And if you could, yep, that's the page that I was looking for. So, Mr. Chair, and especially first apologies. Typically, when I got any type of amendment, I always try to bring it up, but it was like one of the last things that I was working with council on.
This is very uncharacteristic of the senator from the 45th. We understand it's a busy session.
I was going to say it don't happen. This is not how I usually do things, but I did think that it was an important issue as we were hearing this bill. I heard it referenced in reference to the study, so I know that this has been studied from that standpoint. I know that other boards have received some level of compensation. I know that I sat myself on the Board of Elections and I received compensation for that piece of it. And I want to start by saying 10,000, I believe it's like 12 board members or 10 to 12 board members on the Baltimore City School Board. And 10,000 is like a floor. It's just to be able to frame the conversation. Right now it's zero, is what I would say. And this will put it at about 120,000 out of the school system's budget. And Mr. Chair, while and I always try to bring along all stakeholders. I want to say that. So like, while you haven't seen it, the school system hasn't seen it. So I don't think that it's probably appropriate to vote on it at this moment because I want to bump it past the school system.
No, I appreciate that.
Yep. But I do think that we need to really dig into this part of the conversation as we're having this. And this is what I'll offer up to the committee, unless someone wants to change it, things of that nature. And I'll also make sure that I reach out to our school CEO just to get their position on it.
Yeah. And Senator McCray, I would, I'm looking at the amendment before us, and I'm reading it to say that each member of the board, except for the student member, is entitled to receive 10,000 annually in compensation. I actually like this idea, but I would invite you to consider the student member, maybe not compensation, but
It's
some level of
category
scholarship.
language from other school boards too. So I don't mind, but like it's the language that's grabbed was language that other boards use. And I'm not sure why they excluded the student member, and I like to research that a little bit.
Yeah, and I know personally of your commitment to our young people and their furtherance and training and leadership. Even if it's not compensation, as you think about this over the weekend and as we prepare to deliberate over this, I would invite you to even consider, even if it's not compensation, maybe a scholarship stipend for that young person as they go on to seek education at a higher level. So but I really do like the idea. You're the budget man in this delegation, so the question is, do we have the appetite for it in this year? But I think I would be very supportive of this, but I would like to see some type of compensation, not knowing what form it is as it relates to the student member of the board.
So what I'll do, Mr. Chair, is I'm gonna move towards our school system just to get their positional opinion on it. And then I'm also going to get with council to get a better understanding why the student isn't compensated and if there are alternative methods that could be equally to address that.
Yeah, thank you so very much.
I appreciate
Did you
That's
did
it.
you have anything else, Senator McCray? I see DeWanda's hand.
Now I just
up.
wanted I was
gonna
going to present it, but it's a little bit more work to do on it.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. DeWanda, I'm glad you raised your hand, and I'm not sure what you have to add to it. But one of the things that I failed to ask you, and my apologies, just forget sometimes.
You know what, Senator Hayes, can I go back to my point?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
You only weighed in on it. So I just do want to hear Ferguson and Attar in reference to that specific issue, if that's okay, because you're the only one that said something.
Yeah, Senator, I think we're late to the Legislative Black Caucus press conference with the Senate president that he's participating in. And so he's no longer here. It's just you and I, myself, and Delegate Attar at the moment. All right.
Got it.
DeWanda, you it looked like you had a question. One of the questions that I had for you, it appears as though you are presenting based off of conversations with the school board, but I didn't hear that the ideas, suggestions, and statements that you presented today was any formal position of the board. Did the board take a vote on what you presented to us today, or is there an official opinion, or is this simply advice to the delegation?
This is advice to the delegation. The board has not taken an official vote but we just wanted to give this information and the concerns initially recognized in the bill.
Understood. As we prepare to end this meeting, is there any final? It looked like you had something that you wanted to say. Did you want to add anything else to this conversation before we depart, as we're already late?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know if Senator McCray, maybe we'll talk offline about his amendment. That's all, because I just wanted to clarify. That's all.
I am sure the senator in his due diligence, as he always do, will be inclusive of that. There's one more agenda item, and I apologize, but we do have at least 3 of his here, Senator McCray. You asked that we take a vote on the bill.
The raffle bill.
Where's the raffle bill? What's the bill number? Oh, it's Senate Bill 5. Yeah, Senate Bill 538. Now, we don't have the amendment in front of us to give a 5-year sunset, but if it is the will of this body to proceed and, at least in concept, so this bill can advance and we would share the amendment with everybody.
Mr. Chair, motion for the 5-year sunset. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
Move the bill.
The bill is moved.
As amended. Move the bill as amended.
There's been a motion and a second to move the. I'm on my way, Bill. I'm on my way. All right, bye. So the Senate Bill 538 has been moved as amended. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. It passes. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Thank you, Senator McCray. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so very much and have a great day.